Wait for the masses to join us.
Absolutely. Hopefully they can. And they will. If I spread this light around, Joe.
Yes.
We're out here to try to get some clarity on exactly what is going on right now in this world, in this country, and in this world. We are facing a pandemic, and we are facing a lot of social unrest. Not just here, but also, I guess, like all over the world. I mean, as well as in America, we're facing just a lot of people with strong beliefs. And
you are listening to Transparency and Merit, everybody. And we are now live. You are listening to Brian and I'm Joe. And I guess we're going to discuss this, what in the world happened here. Senator Megan Hunt and
Yes.
Jake Gardner and a 22-year-old black man. Why don't you tell us a little background? For someone like me who doesn't watch these news stories, what happened?
Well, Jake Gardner, he was a man accused of manslaughter in the death of a 22-year-old Sherlock, has died by suicide. Gardner's attorney confirmed the news to KETV. 7. It was the defense team said that Gardner's body was found around Portland, Oregon, and they did not leave a note.
Who's Jake Gardner? Just some guy?
Jake Gardner is the owner of a bar, and I guess there was okay. From my understanding, and folks, if I get anything incorrect, is I got Joe did a show on made a correction on a thing about chattel slavery. So if I get anything wrong, please feel free to post a comment and even do a show on how I did wrong, because we are always accepting of correction here. But from my understanding, there was a protest at Mr. Gardner's bar, and I guess a fight ensued between his father and the crowd, and Jake Gardner, the son. Basically, he said he doesn't want any trouble. He brandished a weapon, and then basically a gentleman, Sherlock, got him into a chokehold, and basically Gardner shot him. Like, he put his gun behind his back where he was being choked, and he shot him in the left clavicle, and he ended up dying. And at first, the court had ruled it self-defense, and then with the help of Black Lives Matter and Senator Megan Hunt, I think she also put extra pressure on, and I think they went to I believe they went to the district attorney's house and kind of forced the hand to get a conviction of this person, and he basically, he's not allowed to get money from GoFundMe. He was banned from there, but they pressured him. BLM and Megan Hunt pressured the district attorney, I guess, to file charges. I don't know if it was the district attorney, but they pressured the district attorney to file charges, and the man ended up committing suicide over it. She was, and I think Megan Hunt was one of the people out there claiming that he was a white supremacist. Jake Garner, is a former Marine, and I don't know if he leaves behind any young children, but I think he leaves behind 2 parents. And the stress of this incident probably caused him to commit suicide. And to me, this seems like the anti-racist left is a little bit myopic, if not maybe not a little bit, maybe totally myopic. I've seen these individuals in action, and they're not up for debate. They say things like white silence is violence, and this is not a moment for discussion. And it seems like this group of anti-racist leftists basically drove this gentleman to unfortunately take his life. And I don't know what repercussions Megan Hunt and how much of a role she played in this. I think she may have played a fairly large role. She is a state senator in the Omaha District 8, vice chair of urban affairs, nicknamed the Bi Queen, abolish ICE, equality before the law, 2K20. She, her, and hers is her manifesto on Twitter.
Now, all of your information is coming from mainstream media news sources, correct?
Yeah, some mainstream media news sources, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool, and the like. Tucker Carlson was the one that mentioned her name. And this is basically what she said. As a candidate, let me see here. Oh, the indictment of Jake Garner would never have happened without the community, the people who stood up for justice and demanded action from city officials. Jake Garner is gone, but the white supremacist attitudes that embodies him are still with us today. Now, I don't know if he had said racist things in the past. There's a lot of hearsay. But the thing of it is, it seemed like a clear, no matter what he said in the past or what he spoke about in the past or some of the stuff, it seemed like a very clear-cut case of self-defense. As far as I'm reading it, the man was in a chokehold, and basically he couldn't breathe, and he basically took the gun and shot the person, and then they indicted him. And a lot of the I guess the GoFundMe sites, he wasn't allowed to get on, so I guess he had to pay a lot for his own defense. That's another thing, that the establishment is really behind a lot of this anti-racist leftist stuff, and it seems very unforgiving, and like I said, rather myopic. It doesn't have any nuance. It doesn't seem to have, and it doesn't seem to have any empathy for the opposing side. So they're treating it as something that has to be completely crushed. And is this the kind of, and I think about this, and maybe people, this is for many of you, this is the kind of country you want. This is the kind of America you want, that does things like this, that has kind of a lynch mob mentality, and maybe that's the whole case. Now, she has been getting a lot of activity on Twitter. Joe, if you want to read some of the comments, or if you want me to read some of the comments.
Well, let's. I'm here.
Let me put myself on.
Yes. Let's read the tweet from Senator Megan Hunt. The indictment of Jake Gardner would never have happened without the community, the people who stood up for justice and demanded action from city officials. Jake Gardner is gone, but the white supremacist attitudes that embodied him are still with us today. Speak for yourself, lady. All right. Yes.
You want to read some of the responses that she got?
Yeah. So she left. Looks like the first. Oh, let's see here. She says that there will not be justice for James Skurlock, but we can lay the groundwork for a more just future by fighting white supremacy and racism in our own communities. Healing ourselves of white supremacy is so difficult and takes so long because it requires us to confront ourselves. Susie says, thank you, Senator Hunt, for saying plainly what so many refuse to hear. White supremacy is the original sin of this nation and needs to be reconciled before anything else. And then somebody said, okay, St. Augustine. Okay. James Spurlock had cocaine and meth in his system at the time he was choking Gardner. Not to mention the rap sheet of violent felonies he had racked up at the tender age of 22. But he was a good boy. Then there's a little cartoon here. Sean Bledsoe. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been in classes where the teacher was openly indoctrinating students. If it wasn't for Jordan Peterson and another professor, I probably would have fallen for it. And somebody said to that comment, the lie detector determined that that was a lie. Right. All right. He received justice. He was attacking a person, ended up subject to self-defense. How could you opine on something from which you have so little knowledge? So it was a pretty stupid comment to make. Man.
Seems like a really dumb comment, Joe.
Yeah, it's really dumb. It's really like, dumb. Inflammatory comment.
Yeah, and it's just like, and then she talks about suicide, but she really doesn't mean it. I mean, I think she's, to a degree, the thing that she said, I mean, it's very insensitive what she did. And this is a politician. This is someone who should kind of know better than this kind of behavior. But this is kind of to be suspected from the anti-racist left, I think. They seem to have no sensitivity and are very narrow-minded in their view of things.
Cindy says James Skurlock earned that bullet. James Gardner was attacked in the street by a group of violent rioters. They saw he was armed and decided it would be a good idea to bum rush him anyway. Stupid and lethal decision for one of them. Skurlock received his justice. Now, the Department of Justice will look into the violation of constitutional rights by a mob. The DA and grand jury will have some very difficult questions to answer. America is done with lawbreakers and politicians that support them and dilute the truth.
You know, Joe, this seems like mobocracy. And because I believe these people did protest. I believe it was the district attorney's courthouse, and he was forced to do something that he didn't believe in, but he did so anyway because they were threatening him. And this is, like I said, this is the anti-racist left. It's filled with the mob, and it's filled with just people that don't want to think otherwise. I mean, they don't want to debate. They just want you to give in to their demands. And it's really kind of a lynch mob kind of mentality that they're thinking. And for them, self-defense doesn't exist if it's a if the race is if it's between a white person defending themselves, or even a leftist defending themselves against a conservative, so-called conservative defending themselves against a leftist. The leftist is they're gonna ask for conviction. I mean, look at what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. That looked like but I could be wrong, but that did look like also a clear-cut case of self-defense. But there seems to be a political bent to the prosecution. And is this what we want? Is this the kind of is this a more just and moral society?
I'd like people out there listening to call in. We have a number here. We have a number. It's posted on there. And look, whether you accept the media at face value, which I feel is the biggest problem going in the world right now, or if you buy these stories hook, line, and sinker, or if these stories mean something to you, or if you're like Titan's tweets, here's the real Democrat white supremacist Megan Hunt. You are an embarrassment to the great state of Nebraska. Place I was in Nebraska this summer. In fact, it's a very nice place.
Yeah, did you meet Megan?
So wherever you fall, there's something here for you on the show. Someone to you can either dig in or whatever, commiserate. And these are the kinds of stories we'd like to have you calling in and talking about. We're just presenting. Well, Brian finds most of these stories. I'd never hear about half of them.
Well, I'll tell you something, Joe. I find this is just. I found if it's true, it's exceptionally, egregious. What happened here in this kind of political witch hunt kind of thing, and it to me kind of signifies how far gone it seems like the anti-racist left is. And they just seem, like I said, they don't think beyond their own. It's just they're there with pitchforks and knives, and if they hear something, they go right for that, and they don't want to discuss. They just want their demands met. And you know what? That may be it. And you know what? I think we'll go more on to this story as it develops, Joe. I don't want to, but I think this person needs to be looked at. And other politicians that have done this need to be looked at. There's even, like I said, there are a few things out there of self-defense with leftist groups like Antifa. For example, like Antifa and the Proud Boys getting into altercations that seem very politically motivated. And we need to look at these individuals here and need to find out what's going on. And we need debate in this country because this is affecting our lives. This is affecting the right of self-defense and the right of justice in this country, Joe. So I want to look.
I see you commented on this one.
I did. It seems like that is the case. They are Stepford whites. And some of these people, like I said, they don't see past their own nose and their own, and it's like that's not the way a country should work, in my opinion. A civilized nation should work. It's not, this isn't about.
Here's a comment from Senator Hunt. We need leaders to grow mental health services and decrease stigma around treatment. So those of us who live with mental illness can be supported in crisis. Here she is pushing the mental illness agenda. Everybody's mental, I guess, right? I am sad for the family of James Scurlock's killer. I'm sad for the family of James. Justice will not be served. She's standing by her word. And yeah, I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, there are tons of comments to this story, of course. 260 responses to this
Nurture of legacy. I mean, and some of these people are just very kooky. And like I said, it's just
well, it's the wisdom of the crowd in play here. So you take all of those comments, and you're going to get a lot of those people that are, idiots and just making some inane comment. But what will shake down in those, I mean, this right here is a study sample, 268 comments. I think it can be kind of whittled down to some points of views that will appear in future news stories. So it's all here. I mean, people are just, here it is. Tons and tons of data points for these sorts of stories.
Well, in this case, I think the conservatives are really angry. I mean, and there's not a lot. There's not a lot of people on the left that are really openly. There are a few of them, but the few of them seem to be kooky. But there seems to be more the right is piling on this, and the left is not. The left is not going on to her side here. I don't think there are a few, but on average, she is getting piled on because she seems very insensitive to the death, and she is the person that happened to cause this. So.
And then, Jake, what brings you to D.C.?
I'm here for the inauguration.
Okay, I understand you were a volunteer for the Trump campaign?
Yeah, I was a volunteer for the Trump campaign in Nebraska, California, and Michigan.
Okay. And what do you think about what's going on here today with the Women's March?
These people just want to be heard, and it's a very appropriate venue, a very appropriate weekend with all eyes on them. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of crazy being in the belly of the beast here with my Trump gear.
This is the man they're trying to claim was some evil white supremacist. So this is Jake Gardner, I guess.
Yeah, and he's he seems like a rather reasonable guy.
America Great Best on my dog, and all the dirty looks. Everybody loves the dog until they read the vest, and, but everybody just wants to be heard, and so that's what they're doing. They're not being violent. There's not even that issue with this group.
Do you think they're justified in some of their criticisms of the new president?
I do. I mean, everyone's justified in their criticisms. You can't tell anybody what they're entitled to feel on any level, and if somebody feels that this is something that's going to get in their way, I could see the women's rights argument against the conservative right, with Mike Pence being the vice presidential choice. Donald Trump is a very left-leaning social kind of guy. He may be a conservative with government, be shrinking the government, and have a lot of plans on that front on the conservative side. But socially, he's libertarian, as libertine leaning as it goes, I think. And so I think a lot of their criticisms they're going to be proven wrong, but they certainly have the right to speak their mind.
I mean, that was right there. That gentleman was a very even-keeled person, and to smear, it does make me upset. I don't know if there was other things that were said about him, or he did that were maybe considered racist, but it feels like a really nasty smear on him, and it feels like he's being maligned. And there are a lot of people in pain right now over the loss of this man. And to me, what was done, and if she was one of the head people holding out for an indictment when there shouldn't have been, and then also these companies that don't allow conservatives to have a GoFundMe when the mob is allowed to have GoFundMes. A lot of these Antifa activists and these lawyers that defend these Antifa activists who do mob violence are given access to GoFundMes, and the others are not. So they're basically paying for people to commit assault and then get right back out of jail to commit assault again. And it's almost like some of these companies are almost treasonous to what they're doing, because some of them seem to be insurgencies. insurgents, and they're also supporting, the support of mobocracy. I think some of these companies need to perhaps be called before Congress, because, like I said, they seem to be very, very un-American and bordering on treason. It seems that way. I could be wrong on that. Anyway, Joe, is there anything else to add before we call this one a day?
What are the military ties here?
Well, he was a former Marine. And I don't know what his father was, but his father was a person attacked. But, it just goes to show you that the stress of being called a racist is really, it's a real stigmatization. And it seems like a rather unfair one. Mm-hmm. And like I said, probably the legal bills were mounting up and the stress of COVID. And like I said, there doesn't seem to be any empathy from the left on a lot of things, the anti-racist left on a lot of things. There's no nuance, and there's no and they don't want to discuss. They want to make demands. And it's like, that's not the way it should happen. We're not, we're a democratic republic, or we're a constitutional republic. And the kinds of things that are happening seem to be just a form of mobocracy that is completely un-American and uncivil and really nasty and really vile. And just, that's the first time that I listened to that interview of that person. And when I listen to that, I really think that this person it feels like this person was really maligned. And it Joe, it makes me angry. It makes me very angry that this person was driven to suicide by the cruel and vindictive leftist mob. It's really wrong. And I think people should stand up to it. And this person, if Megan Hunt, if she is responsible for that, she needs to get out of office if this is what she did and this is what happened. It just seems really, if Senator Megan Hunt, if this is what happened, yeah, she needs to be removed, in my opinion. If she was one of the catalysts responsible for that nonsense and the death of that person, geez, I mean, I would be ashamed. She should be, ashamed for what she did, if that's the case. It's just disgusting. And if people feel this way, if even 30% of the nation feels this way, I want to live as far away from people like that as possible. I mean, and there may be something that I don't know about them, but as far as that, it's not the type of country that I want to live in. It's just, it just seems really awful and really bad. Did you just put a heart sign near
yes.
my YouTube video? Hopefully that gets more listens. Maybe you should tweet it out again, or But it's just sad all the way around. Anyone who's known anyone who's lost themselves over suicide, and there are plenty of things that can drive people to suicide, and this is one of them. Being accused of something, having a trial under your belt, when you've when you've killed a man, whether it's in self-defense or it's murder. It's a bad thing all the way around, but it really makes the anti-racist left look really even worse than it already does, in my opinion. And much of the establishment should be ashamed of themselves for supporting this kind of stuff. At least it looks that way to me. These people have no empathy. They're just a group of lynch mob monsters that aren't looking and examining the facts. And if I'm wrong, please tell me. Anything else to add, Joey?
We are done.
Let's do it. All right.
All right. That's it for this episode of Transparency and Merit.
Like and subscribe, people.